I'd like to call this regular council meeting to order. Would you all please rise for the invocation?
We meet to serve our community and endeavor to be worthy custodians of all that has been entrusted to us. Let us be concerned only for what will promote good government. May we bring to our council chamber minds that think and hearts that feel, so that in our deliberations we may display imagination, wisdom, and courage, and the will to do our work for the good of all.
Thank you. And the roll call, Madam Clerk.
All members of council are present, Your Worship.
And I note that Councillor Luberts is here. It's nice to have you back, Councillor Luberts. You fill in the horseshoe here.
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor Redekop. I just
Do that
want to let everybody.
We're only going to let you back because you can't speak, which
Yes,
is...
I gotta ask everybody to be patient with me. I have a little temporary throat damage from my operation.
Councillor Luberts, we've been patient with you for 3.5 years.
Yeah, I know. I hate to ask again, but I have to.
Not a problem. So we have an addendum this evening. It appears that there was a significant error. It looks like 1/1,000,000th of a point with respect to the industrial vacant class in terms of the 2018 tax rate, from 3.367471% to 3.367470%. And that has an impact on the current value assessment for that class from 552,960 to 552,900 on the nose. And that means the total current assessment for the municipality is $3,607,716,378 to $3,607,716,318. And that will be dealt with under consideration of bylaws. That's bylaw 69 for 2018. Just one announcement. I want to mention that my wife and I attended the opening of the Water for Life art exhibit in Niagara Falls on Saturday evening. And it's being held at the Niagara Falls Museum on Ferry Street and will be there until October. It was opened by the Strongwater Women, who are an Indigenous singing and drum group. So they sang, they drummed, and they also spoke. And they spoke very eloquently about the connection between, or the significance of water in the world and its relationship to humans, to animals, and to plants. And without water, there is no life. And so they urged everyone not to take water for granted, which we often do, particularly in this area where we have an abundance of fresh water. And they also urge us not to take for granted our natural systems which purify our water, our groundwater, such as the wetlands. And the other connection with the town of Fort Erie to that art exhibit was that it was primarily put together by Antoine Gabert, who is very instrumental in some of the activities that take place at the Bell Tower in Fort Erie. He's run 2 workshops, artist workshops here in Fort Erie, very successful. And so if you have an opportunity, it's quite an interesting exhibit. There are artists from 37 countries around the world, many of them who were in Niagara Falls on Saturday evening. That's it for announcements. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Councillor Luberts?
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor Redekop. Just to go back to a few meetings that I had missed, the regular council meeting on April 19th, item 8C, there was a delegate of Ken Rial and Rick Stewart, and Ken Rial is my employer. At the same meeting, item 93C2, they discussed the 4875 Point Avenue Dunes, and that's owned by Ken Rial and Rick Stewart. And again, Ken Rial is my employer. And I also declared a pecuniary interest at the March 25th EAC minutes to discuss 4875 Point Avenue Dunes, and that was because of Ken Real being my employer. Those were all in the same meeting, I believe. And then the regular meeting of March 26, item 10A, the consent of absence for myself. I should declare a pecuniary interest in that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lubberts. And Madam Clerk, you've got all that? Thank you. If there are no other disclosures of pecuniary interest, then notice of upcoming public meetings. There's a public meeting with respect to a rezoning bylaw amendment for 275 Gorham Road, Tuesday, May the 22nd, in the council chambers here at 6 p.m. The information report with respect to that application will be available on our website on Wednesday, May the 16th, 2018. And there's another public meeting with respect to the South End Riverwalk Core Area Community Improvement Plan, same evening, May the 22nd, 2018, at 6 p.m. here in council chambers. And again, the information report will be available on Wednesday, May 16th, 2018. That takes us to the Regional Councillor report. Good evening, Councillor Annunziata.
Good evening, Your Worship, members of council, members in the gallery. I'll try to be brief because I understand that you have a very fulsome agenda with some presentations that are far more interesting than anything I can say this evening. But I just wanted to highlight some of the key points coming out of our upcoming committee meetings, that being Planning and Economic Development and Corporate Services. So we will be getting a report, and I'll be circulating to this council with respect to some of the achievements of 2017. So report PDS 225-2018 is a report that highlights growth monitoring for the entire Niagara region. So some specific highlights I wanted to pull out and share with this council because this council has had a significant impact in some of these incredible numbers. So population growth was the highest and the greatest it's been in over a decade, as Niagara's population increased by 4,829 people, or 1.06% to 458,986 in 2017. So this is twofold. Number one, growth is here, and that's what we've been trying to achieve. But we're still a little bit short with respect to the provincial growth numbers, what they want us to grow at a rate of. We have to maintain a growth rate of 1.6%. So I'm happy to say that in almost every category, the town of Fort Erie is top 4. Out of our 12 municipal partners that make up the Niagara region, the town of Fort Erie is a top 4 in just about every category. Currently, we sit at 1.09% population growth, which is a top 3 in all of Niagara. We have to maintain that, but the bigger question now is how do we prepare for that growth? And it comes to specifically land plan usage. And that's going to be the big focus of the next term of council, is preparing for the growth that is now upon us. I would bring the attention to some of the incredible statistics that housing sales and average sales have had here in the town of Fort Erie. Again, Fort Erie finds itself in the top 3. Fort Erie has had an increase of 27% with respect to the average sale of a home. The Niagara regional average is 21%. Again, when you look at some of the numbers in building permits and housing starts, again, record-setting years in 2017. And when you just think we couldn't surpass 2016, we did it in 2017. So all really, really good news for the town of Fort Erie, and quite happy with the progress that we're making. I will bring this council's attention to the audit report that will be coming forward with respect to regional incentive reviews. I do want to make special note of Chris Miller. Chris Miller is an employee here at the town, and he has done an incredible job of tracking the progress and the metrics and leveraging the investment that small business owners and certainly the town can enjoy by subscribing to some of these incentive programs. So special note to Chris Miller, he's done an excellent job. So that audit report, that Phase 1 audit report, comes forward on Wednesday at Economic and Planning and Development. Just for the benefit of everyone in the gallery, when you look at the incentives, there are quite a few. There's Smarter Niagara Incentive Program, or the SNIP. There's the Public Realm Investment Program. There's the Waterfront Investment Program, which this council and this town has been very successful. Niagara Investment in Culture Program, the Gateway Economic Zone and Center grants, industrial development charge grant, nonprofit regional development charge grant, and heritage tax rebate programs. So you're looking at roughly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, roughly about 10 grant programs that the region administers, and the town of Fort Erie has been very successful in subscribing to. So coming forward, there are some recommendations within that audit report that will be up to council to adopt moving forward with some of these incentive programs. And most of them have to do with reporting and following up, just to see where the largest investments have been made and what kind of leverage impact that they've had on these local municipalities. So all good news coming forward in that internal audit report, and council will be receiving that audit report very shortly. Just a quick update on the Garrison Road County Fair Mall property. As we all wait with bated breath for the wrecking ball to come. So the tender went out on May 11th, and it will close May 31st. Now, the tender documents are on the region's website, so we anticipate that a contractor will be awarded the contract relatively pretty quickly, within 2 to 3 weeks, and the agreement will be executed, and the contractor will coordinate his resources, and they will mobilize on site. So based on the time frame, we're looking at the end of June and approximately 2 months to complete. So we'll be putting out notices to the local residents. Obviously, in any kind of demolition, there's a lot of dust and a lot of disturbance. So we're looking at some of the housing on Kings Mill. We're looking at some of the houses on Albany, some of the business located across the street. We'll make sure that they're notified and any impact is mitigated to the best that we can. But good to see the wrecking ball coming, and that should be done by sometime end of June and July. And we're going to have a great big party to celebrate the coming of the new Gilmore Lodge. That's all I have for this evening, Your Worship. I'll open it up to questions or comments from.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Nunziata. And it's very interesting news about Fort Erie. And we have, as you know, been planning for the future through our industrial land development strategy, through our economic preparedness study, through the sewer master plan work that we've been doing. And we also have incentive programs, as you know, that match some of the regional programs through our community improvement programs for the downtown areas, through our tax incentive program and our development charge rebate program. So those all are working well, and we're very appreciative that the region has decided to keep money in those funds when it looked like earlier last year that may change. In terms of the County Fair Mall, I did circulate to members of council an email that was sent out earlier today, and my understanding is that the demolition will probably start the latter part of June, take a couple of months, and so yeah, that's quite exciting. And you're much too young, but I'm old enough maybe to start looking to book a place in the new facility. Any members of council have any questions of Councillor Nunziata? Councillor Passero.
Thank you, Your Worship. Councillor Nunziata, if there are residents or business owners that live on a regional road and have some concerns regarding some property that needs to be rehabilitated due to winter control operations, so snowplow getting a little bit too close to the grass or things like that, who should they contact?
They can contact me, and certainly I'll provide them the appropriate staff and resources to investigate and then hopefully find a remedy for their cause. I know Councillor Nutt has been extremely diligent in passing on the concerns of some of his residents, and we do our best to make sure that if there is any impact through snow clearing on sidewalks and certainly on shoulders, we do our best to fix those.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Any other councillors? Thank you very much.
So I just had one other
Sure,
comment,
go ahead.
and basically piggybacking on the Garrison Road. So we got that information a couple of days ago, and those discussions were started by a local resident, actually, to get some timelines with respect to St. Joseph Cemetery. So I know there's a lot of concern with respect to St. Joseph Cemetery. So out of respect for the faithful that still utilize that cemetery, still have loved ones going there, they wanted to find a path forward with respect to egress, ingress, getting heavy equipment in there. Can they still use it? Understanding that Brewers Retail is now one of our tenants at the region. So we're putting together a plan. We've invited regional staff to come on site and hopefully work with the cemetery committee at St. Joseph's to find a solution forward. So again, It's multifaceted. There's a lot of moving parts to that particular piece of property, but I'll keep this council apprised of those negotiations and those talks as well, if any members of council get those questions with respect to St. Joseph Cemetery.
Thank you very much. That then takes us to presentations and delegations, and the first presentation is by Sherry Carson. Good evening.
Good evening. We'll see how smooth I can do this.
Very good.
Thank you, everyone, for being here for me. It's wonderful to be a Canadian and have a voice. I wanted to talk today about transportation. I'm on Bowen Road. I'm new to this city. Could you lower my glasses for me? I'm new to this town. I've only been here for 8 years, and I have multiple sclerosis, so please bear with me while I try to get my voice up for you. My challenge is not being able to get around the city, around the town without paying a fortune. There's no Niagara specialized transit allowed to give me rides in this area because they don't have the contract here as well. There's no transit on Sunday or past 9 o'clock at night. And Fort Erie Fast Bus, same thing. No Sundays available. And for myself and many people in my position, we're not disabled only 6 days out of the week. We're still disabled on Sundays, and we're not disabled only between the hours of 9 and 5. We're disabled all the time. So if we want to go out or go somewhere, it is a fortune during certain times. And recently, I participated in an MS walkathon in Stevensville. I had to pay, because it was a Sunday, $65 each way for a taxi. That was $130 to raise money for MS. That could have been spent in my campaign instead. This issue that I'm bringing up is affecting my quality of life. The only other option I have on a Sunday right now is to go outside. But on cold and rainy days, I can't. The days I can, I met with our streets that have no sidewalks. I'm on Bowen Road. They have no sidewalks, and they're riddled with potholes and broken cement that flies up. My wheelchair cost me $26,000 in order to be able to drive it. And so going out on the streets is a little dangerous and a little disheartening when I've spent this kind of money for accessibility. So, like I said, the streets roll up at 9 for me, and on Sunday they're non-existent. So I'm wondering what's going to happen when the new development at the Rio Vista where we are, the golf course, has an influx of people that have no accessibility to and from work. What are our long-term goals to sustain and move forward with the increasing population? With new people come new challenges. Elderly, disabled, young infants, for example. Everyone comes with their own set of needs in the community that we as a town need to start accommodating. Jarvis Street has many shops that I frequent. Off the top of my head, I can think of Riverside Dental, the Laundromat, Mrs. O's Pharmacy, the Farmer's Market, the Savory Bean. I've got every ounce on my butt to prove it. The Samosa Factory, the Culture Sub Place, Bridgepoint Chiropractor, Awesome Doctor, Bait Hair Salon, another great place. The spa, love it. I've even been to the Salvation Army. Bridgeburg Jewelers, the jiu-jitsu that used to be there, and the driving course Apex. Both my boys have been through there. Since moving here, I've become super attached to this area, and I'm proud of this community. And in order to keep the small town feeling alive, we need to become more welcoming to all, and all come in many shapes and sizes, some with legs, some with wheels. Last summer, I called the fast bus and went to Walmart. They didn't run late enough to pick me up, so I prearranged a ride with Central Taxi. A very, very long story short, 2.5 hours later, my husband drove to pick up my groceries and my caregiver. My caregiver and I headed out on a 2-hour journey home. No taxi wanted to pick me up because it wasn't lucrative enough. The cab company did not inform me of this. I had phoned earlier and done due diligence to arrange a ride, but they left me sitting there anyways. I finally arrived home at 11:30 at night, once again maneuvering around our potholes. And the construction in the city it was very traumatic having to go through that, to be stranded at the other end of town, trying to make my way home. I'm talking right now like I'm the only one who has needs. My needs are very, very apparent. You can look at this wheelchair and see that I have needs. But there's many people in this town that have needs that aren't seen, that are economical, that are depression. They just have a downtrodden life. They've got death in the family. They're struggling against cancer. There's many things that many people have that keep them from having transportation available to them. You see my disability. No, there's other people. There's many, many more that you don't see their disabilities. We need to be all-inclusive, and it starts with being able to get to a job, being able to get downtown and socialize, being able to be a part of the community. This all started me being here, which I'm so grateful for. This is a beautiful room. I feel very privileged to be here. But this all started because I phoned it down. And I asked, why is there no transportation on Sunday? And they told me it was a budget issue. And if I wanted any more information, that I had to ask council. So here I am, speaking with you fine people, feeling a little like Dr. Seuss, feeling like the Lorax, speaking for those who can't. And I'm asking, when will transportation be available on Sundays and later in the evening? That's it, folks.
Thank you
Mic
very
drop.
much, Ms. Carson. We're privileged to have you here this evening. We very much appreciate you coming out. The actual hours of transit are from 7 in the morning till 9 at night. And there is a specialized transit service in the municipality, which you're probably familiar with. Its hours are limited to the same hours as conventional transit. And it is a budget issue. The budget is reviewed every year, and we've made some changes to expand the conventional transit routes. And we're hoping that we will be able to get sufficient ridership to justify further expanding that service. We have been working with the region in terms of intermunicipal transit as well. But there is some, if we could have a copy of your presentation, if we don't already, we can provide that to
I
our
sent you
accessibility.
one.
Okay, thank you. We can provide that to our Accessibility Advisory Committee, and your comments can, I'm sure that Mr. Cookett, our CAO, has made note of those as well, so that your comments and concerns can be part of not just the transportation piece, but also the issue with respect to sidewalks and your ability to be more mobile. And not just you, but as you say, others in the community who have similar accessibility issues. So before you go, let me again thank you, and I'll ask any members of council if they have any questions that they'd like to ask of you. Councilor Passero?
Thank you, Worship. Through you to Mrs. Carson, it's a pleasure to see you again. We have, coming up on May 22nd, we'll be reviewing the future terms of our fast service contract. It's up for renewal, so I know myself and my colleagues will definitely be taking an eye at that based on some of the comments you've made tonight. So hopefully we can make some changes short term, but also look towards the long term to identify and address some of the concerns you've brought to us. Thank you.
I am looking forward to that, seeing NSD come into our area. I think they'd be a well-needed asset.
Thank you for
Thank you
being here.
so much.
Any other councilors? Thank you again very much, Ms. Carson, and we appreciate it. And we look forward to receiving a copy of your presentation so that we can share that with our staff.
Thank you so much.
Now, you have a way to get home? Thank
Sure
you.
do. Thank you.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you, Janine. Our second delegation is Ashwin Kevani, hospitality and culinary teacher, and Samantha Melly, a student at Greater Fort Erie Secondary School. I have a presentation to make. Good evening.
Hi. Okay. You okay? Okay. Hello, Mayor Redekop and four area councilors. My name is Samantha Melly. I am a grade 12 student at GFES. Today I would like to share with you a special project that Mr. Cavani, the culinary teacher at GFES, and myself have created together. Mr. Cavani has a love for wood burning, an eye for drawing. Together we combined our talents and created a walking stick that represents the heritage sites of Greater Fort Erie area. We found a long, straight tree branch, stripping the bark from it and sanded down. We took the branch and edged it out, the Greater Fort Erie heritage sites, burned the wood on the edging, colored in the drawings with oil pencil crayons. We also varnished it. Carved a wise owl at the top of the stick, and then we added a piece of leather and feathers. At the top of the stick is the wise owl, watching over our precious places that makes Fort Erie our home. The old fort is represented, reminding us of the War of 1812. The dollhouse, built in 1835, was the main entrance point for the Underground Railway. The famous comet at the iconic Crystal Beach Amusement Park. The ferry boat, the Americana, transporting U.S. citizens from Buffalo to Crystal Beach. The Fort Erie Racetrack, a thoroughbred horse racing track that has been running since 1896. The lighthouse at Portobello, built in 1917. The Peace Bridge, the gateway to the USA and Canada. I represented Fort Erie Secondary School with their mascot, the Falcon, and Ridgeway Crystal Beach High School with their Blue Devil mascot, meeting as one at Greater Fort Erie Secondary School with the Griffin. And finally, the Greater Fort Erie emblem of the Peace Bridge. Most of these places are with us today. Some we have lost, but are still in our memories of the Fort Erie people. Recently, we took top honors at the Hamilton Wood Show Championships and second place at the Niagara Woodcarvers Association Show. Mr. Cavani and I want to donate this beautiful walking stick to the town of Fort Erie. I would like to let you all know that donating this walking stick to Fort Erie gives us great pleasure. I have been accepted to Sheridan College in the Visual and Creative Arts for 3 years. I plan to come back to Fort Erie with my diploma and plan to one day open an art studio, displaying my art and other local artists. I want to thank Mr. Cavani for being my partner on this piece of art and for helping me further my career as an artist. I would also like to thank a teacher that took me under her wing, Mrs. Duggan. She taught me a lot about art. I hope by displaying this walking stick at the town center will bring smiles to everyone that looks upon it. Thank you to everyone, and thank you for having Mr. Cavani and I. Have a great night.
Thank you very much, Samantha. Mr. Cavani, did you want to make a few comments?
Just a few comments. Honorable Mayor and Member of Council, you know who I am, but mainly I'm here with Samantha to celebrate this spirit of collaboration between a student and teacher. This specific project is a symbol of dedication and the cooperation of our youth with the community at large. This piece was originally designed to celebrate Canada 150 and later on became a representation of our community. I call upon the member of the council and the mayor to view this project and the commitment of our youth by forming a committee to examine and search and strategize ways in which to entice our youth to come to give back to this wonderful community and make Fort Erie their first choice to create their future. Call upon this council to create a program to reach out to students after graduating from high school in order to determine the needs and desires of those students who have shared so much of themselves with this amazing community. We should be in constant contact with our youth while they're away from home, such as Samantha going to college, and busy with their studies. We need these students to come back to this town and share their knowledge and hopefully start their lives in Fort Erie with more opportunities. Thank you for the time and consideration of this project.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cavani. And I know that you're quite accomplished in your field, and I know that Samantha is a very accomplished artist already.
Yes, she is, yes.
You'll find it interesting that one of the meetings that we had earlier this afternoon, Councillor Nunziata was involved and Mr. Cookett was with a group of individuals who are trying to find ways through technology and some of the new opportunities out in the world of computers and Wi-Fi and what have you, to keep youth here and to actually bring new young people to Niagara. So this will hopefully assist in that regard. And you wanted to present that?
Yes, we would like to present it. If you would like to come down, we can get this.
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I take this now?
Comes with it.
Oh, these come with it?
Yes, yes.
Okay, perfect. So we'll display these. And do we have a copy of that?
Yes, we have. I sent it already to.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, thank you.
The walking stick was brought in earlier this month, and so we've had some discussions with staff about where we can locate that and how we would display that, because it's a wonderful piece of art and something that we can all be proud of, and hopefully will work its magic by keeping some of our youth here or bringing them back after they've completed their studies. And Samantha, it's nice to see you here with your parents, who I'm sure are very, very proud. Very proud. Really? Okay. That takes us to, thank you again.
Thank you.
That takes us into our next delegation. William Heikoop, on behalf of, and Tom Stack on behalf of West Wind Niagara Developments, and Rob Mills, the president of Blythewood Homes. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. Thank you for having me. I do have a video as well.
Yeah, it should be on the desktop when you're ready.
Okay. Sorry, good evening once again. I'm a planner with Upper Canada Consultants. I'm here to discuss 3285 Thunder Bay Road and a request for the removal of dead ash trees. Here you can see the subject site highlighted in red in the heart of Ridgeway. Along with me here is Rob Mills, president of Blythewood Homes, and Tom Stack with West Wind Developments. We previously submitted an application to remove the environmental conservation overlay and removal of ash trees to the Environmental Advisory Committee, who only approved removal around the perimeter of the site. However, given the present circumstances, we find ourselves in a situation with a number of significant number of other dead ash trees on the property. So just to give you an overview of the site, here you can see it outlined in red. The site has frontage along Burley Road South and along Thunder Bay Road. The site extends around the existing Lake Crest Court and fronts onto Lake Erie. Evidently, from this image here, you can see that the property is heavily vegetated. However, that was not always the case. Here you can see an aerial photograph of the property from 1934. At this time, the property was used primarily for agricultural purposes. A large portion of the property does not appear to have any significant tree life at this point in time. It is important to point out the town's definition of primary old growth and secondary old growth. From the near time of this photo, we believe that the property was used primarily for recreational seasonal ownership, and therefore the trees were either planted or germinated naturally over the past 80 years and should be considered secondary growth per the town's definition. So while the owners may have long-term plans to develop the property, we have immediate liability concerns regarding the maintenance of the property in the interim. Initially, we dealt with this in three different ways. We requested the MPCA forester to attend the site. He concluded that the property did not qualify as a significant woodlot under the region's forestry bylaw, and had no further concerns, but recommended we talk to the town before doing anything. At that time, I then approached the town's arborist and planning department. The town's arborist directed me to council's current policies regarding ash tree removal, saying that the longer they are left, the bigger the problem of removal becomes. And ultimately, if they are dead, it's only a matter of time before they come down. At that time, through consultation of the planning department, they recommended that we make an application to the Environmental Advisory Committee to remove the EC overlay and ash trees. The application was made this past February with the objective of, removing that EC overlay from the official plan schedule as seen here on the screen. Along with that application, we prepared an arborist report to assess the current status of the trees within the property boundary. I'd just like to point out at this point in time that we're no longer proposing to remove that EC overlay. Rather, our concerns lay exclusively with the number of dead or dying ash trees on the site. And what we're asking for at this point is just removal of those dead trees. Just to discuss the arborist report a little bit further, the arborist took an inventory of the existing tree population on the site. They found two primary tree groups that you can see in the large group A, you can see in green and yellow there. The green part being the area around the existing creek on site. The report concludes that from a test plot that 67% of the total trees are ash trees. The remainder of this vegetation is largely underbrush. There are some healthy other species, but the report indicates that the property is dominated by a dense thicket of gray dogwood and common buckthorn. And you can see this application from the arborist report initial application. So ultimately, the AC committee assessed the report and made a site visit, concluding that the conservation overlay remain on the entire property, that the ash trees should not be permitted from clearing, but would consider selective removal of the ash from the perimeter of the property upon review of a plan showing details of that selective removal. My clients and I feel that permission to remove ash around the perimeter does not address the immediate concerns we have with dead trees on the remainder of the site. I have some photos and a video that were recently taken showing what the property looks like in its current format. Currently, there are ash trees in the interior of the site that put other trees and other environmental features at risk. We feel that removing the ash trees will actually contribute positively to the remaining vegetation in the environmental area. Often when trees die and begin to rot, and they open up to diseases, and when they do eventually come down, those diseases have a potential to spread around to healthy other species of trees. Here from these two images, you can see from the ground what they look like. In the photo on the left, you can see a tree leaning over the existing shed near the existing hydro wire and pole. And I do have a video that I'd like to show you. Just bear with me for a moment. So we actually had a drone go out and shoot the site, and we just wanted to show you what it looks like from an aerial view. As you can see, there's a large number of trees that are starting to get leaves, but a large majority of them do not have any tree buds. And we feel that the removal of those trees is in the best interest of the property, not only long-term, but in the short term. We feel that it would be a benefit. So I'll just let this play through and you can observe some of the different areas of the property. So as you can see, it's a very beautiful property. And our reasons for the removal of ash trees are, as I previously stated, if dead trees are left on site, they begin to rot. Signs and symptoms of the emerald ash borer are evident throughout this property, meaning a large number of these trees are already dead. If not, they're well on their way. As time goes on, removal becomes much more expensive and dangerous to both people who are removing those trees, potentially dangerous to property and the surrounding trees as time goes on. Currently, there's existing utilities lines traveling across the property, and there's concerns that these dead trees may knock down some of those wires. Additionally, there are concerns that the trees may fall over in proximity to the existing driveway and or dwelling. And then along with that, obviously, there's a wealth of liability and insurance issues, as you can appreciate, as some of you, if not all of you, are property owners of yourselves. So along with all these facts, we're putting forward a plan of action. This consists of retaining an arborist to tag the location of all the healthy trees. We would then record those locations. Through digital mapping, we would be able to identify those trees on a plan, ensuring they are preserved throughout the process, ensuring that transparency is achieved. In addition to this, any silt or construction fencing measures recommended by the arborist looking at these trees would be installed where required. And then throughout this process, we will continue to work on an environmental impact study for any future development application. We feel that this would be the more appropriate way to deal with the EC overlay and getting the scientific facts. But the fact remains right now that there are imminent liability concerns, maintenance, and just good property standards. And so in order to address this removal, we would propose to do some small clearing in a pathway access format, being careful to stay away from any healthy trees. And you can see our proposed little loop shown here in orange. So in summary, we respectfully request that Council reconsider the EAC recommendation and allow for the owners to be good stewards of the property in line with the good forestry practices of the town in order to relieve any liability and maintenance issues. I just wanted to read an excerpt from the tree bylaw. The definition of good forestry practice includes the cutting and removal of hazardous, severely damaged, disease, insect-infested trees, which must be removed in order to prevent contamination or infestation of other trees, which no longer contribute to the achievement of forest values. And we want to ensure that nothing, if you do allow us, that nothing will happen during the bird breeding season. So that concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions or dialogue.
Thank you very much, Mr. Haycoop, and I will pass this on to members of council that have questions, but it seems to me that the original application was to remove the EC overlay. That's not what's being asked for now. It sounds like what you're asking for is exactly what EAC has said that they would consider. That is a selective removal of ash trees after you've done a plan, which it appears you're going to be doing.
So the specifics of that wording was to be around the perimeter of the property. And what we're asking for is across the entire property.
So you're going to be doing a plan with respect to the entire property. You're not going to be asking for removal of the EC overlay. I'm wondering whether that isn't the basis for you to, make a further application to EAC. If you, I don't suppose you have to make an application to EAC, do you, on that?
What we've done in the past, you're looking to me, so I suspect you're looking for an answer. What we've done in the past is if a letter comes in, we simply take it to EAC. So a letter could be drafted with an outline.
So this sounds like what you're planning on doing is exactly what EAC would be considering. Is that correct, Mr. Brady?
There is a difference, and Mr. Haycoop has pointed that out. EAC has identified that they're interested in looking at the perimeter of the property, right. And it's clear from Mr. Haycoop's presentation and from the air photography that was shared, that the property north of the creek, there's a creek that runs across the property, north of that area has a predominance of ash. I would suggest to you that south of the creek it's not, but north of the creek it is.
Thank you very much for that clarification. Members of council. Councilor Passero.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you, Worship. I do intend to bring this forward for reconsideration, which in council terms means we would further deliberate this in a couple of weeks if council was agreeable to doing that. How does that impact your timelines? Is that agreeable to you?
From our perspective, we would need to get the professionals on site to conduct that specific tree inventory. And right now, we are currently in the migratory bird breeding season, so we would have to wait till that lapses, till we'd be able to complete this proposed work.
Okay. Thank you, Worship.
Thank you. Any other members of council? Councilor Luberts.
Thank you very much, Mayor Redekop, and thank you very much for your presentation. And you'll have to excuse me, my throat. I think you were here when I explained the problem. But anyway, you made a reference that, and maybe you can correct me, that there's no other significant tree life in the area on the property.
There are other healthy tree species on the property, but we're not proposing to remove those.
Well, then my question would be, and I'm a little confused, and I'm very interested to see how this would work. How can you take down the ash trees without doing damage to the rest of the environmental issues on the property? Like an EIS doesn't just cover the trees. There's all kinds of other things that it covers. And unless you're going to go in there with a crane and pluck each tree separately and clear it from the site, I don't see any other way you can do it without damaging the rest of the property.
I think it's important to consider that no matter what decision we make tonight or in the future, those ash trees at some point are going to fall, whether it's by natural causes or by chainsaw. And perhaps, it's better if we have some control over that, like you say, versus letting a windstorm just have it fall wherever. Could it be on a tree? Could it be on the one significant tree, the butternut there? So I think it's perhaps the best of a not perfect scenario is allowing us to go in and try and at least control it to a certain extent.
Well, thank you. And then you mentioned again in your presentation that when the trees fall, they get diseased, and then they spread the disease to the other trees. I've lived in Fort Erie all my life, and I know we have a lot of forest in the area. And when I look at our forest, I would say that our forests are pretty healthy. In a lot of those forests, we have trees that fall. That's a natural process of a forest. There's trees that grow, they die, they fall down, and when they rot, that's part of the system and the ecosystem for a forest. Now, the ash tree, yes, it has a bug in it that is ruining the tree, but I don't know if there's any studies that say that the ash borer, once it's done with the ash tree, will go to the other trees in the forest.
Agree with you, and that's not what I'm suggesting. We're coming at it from the perspective that approximately 70% of this area is ash tree. Now, if all those trees are to come down at the same time, in my mind, that would have a much more negative impact than a slow, controlled way of taking them down.
Well, thank you very much. Then maybe you can explain what are the other diseases that will be spread throughout the forest.
Can't say I'm a professional on bacteria and fungi.
Yes, I understand that. And that is why we request an EIS, so we can answer those questions. Now, Environmental Advisory Committee they don't just arbitrarily say, we're going to have an EIS on this piece of property. Our people that look at that, we have very professional people that are biologists, and some people have master's degrees in their field. So when they look at that, they consider our official plan as well as the environmental issues, and then they make their recommendation to council. So they have looked at this and said an EIS should be done because there are other issues within this forest.
Excuse
I'll
me,
just give
Councillor
you an
Lubitz.
example.
Do you have a
of-
question? This is an
Pardon me?
opportunity, do you have a question? This is an opportunity for you to question the delegate.
Well, Mayor Redekop, they make a lot of points about the forest and about other things in the forest. And my question is, do you have the reports to back these statements up? Because I'm hearing diseases are going to spread, and I don't have any data on that. You said that you've gone in there and you've looked at the property and done some other studies, and your people that did the studies came back with a result. Well, we haven't seen them, and I think that EAC needs to review these new studies. So I don't think that removing the EC overlay resolves the problem. We have in our official plan.
That's true, but this is an opportunity.
Reasons why an EIS is required.
That's quite right, but this is an opportunity for you to ask questions of the delegates.
Yes, well, I've asked, and they can't give me the answers.
We've got that.
So that's another reason why we can't move forward and remove the EC overlay.
Well, they're not asking for that now. They're asking simply for an opportunity to remove trees. It sounds like Councilor Passero is going to be bringing a notice of motion later in the evening, and then it sounds like we'll get some further information. I don't want to cut you off, Councilor Lubitz, but I do want to keep you on focus.
Well, Mayor Redekop, if I could just continue and ask the delegate to bring forward his reports so that we can review them. And especially, I would like to know what these diseases that will be spread throughout the forest with these dead trees falling down. Because personally, I don't know of any, but maybe I'm wrong.
Well, they've acknowledged that they don't have that information available. Presumably, they've got arborists that will provide that information. There will be a report coming again from an arborist. There's been some undertakings here. I presume that you can provide this PowerPoint presentation to us so that we can, members of council can have it, and we can circulate it to the EAC as well.
And I guess my reference is really to the definition of good forestry practice. And as I read it at the end of my presentation, it specifically quotes hazard, severely damaged, disease, and insect-infested trees, which must be removed in order to prevent contamination, infestation of other trees. So that's where I'm getting it from.
And what Councilor Lubitz is looking for is, aside from the emerald ash borer, what other types of diseases?
Yes, you're talking about a specific tree, and that specific tree is not going to spread the ash borer to the other trees. So good forest management may be true, what you're saying, but in this case, we're only dealing with the ash tree, and the ash borer is not going to go to the other trees. So I don't know that there is relevant in this case.
Well, we would ask that you have your arborist address that point if that's an issue for you.
Nope, that's fine.
And just, if I could make another point, you mentioned the other tree life in the forest. And I just want to bring your attention to our natural area inventory. And when I looked at the map, it's map 191 and 192, or block 191 and 192. And if you look at the inventory chart, block 191 has special features, and block 192 has social and economic value to the town of Fort Erie. So I guess my question is, will you be addressing that when you come back with your reports? Because I would like you to show that we don't have any special features there, and I would like you to show where there's no economic or social value to this property?
We're seeking some clarification on that, actually, with staff, because in that report, it says plantation. Nowhere is that defined. No, we have no information. Someone just stopped by for 15 minutes, according to the time records, and they said it's a plantation. Can you help me understand what that means?
Yes, I understand.
Point of order, Your Worship.
Yes.
Our rules of procedure say that we are not to engage in debate with a delegate. I believe that we've now crossed that line. I know there are a lot of arguments on both sides and additional information, and the time to bring that forward from both sides will be when we reconsider this, if we reconsider this.
I would tend to agree with that, so.
Well, Mayor
Councilor
Redekop, if I
Lubitsky-
may,
Well-
I understand what Council Pacero is saying, but the delegate has come forward and made some comments about this piece of property, and I'm just asking questions for him.
No, you're
as
not
to-
asking, no, you're not
Yeah,
just
I'm
asking questions.
Where did he get that information?
Yeah, you're not just asking questions, you're also engaging in debate, and you are making statements with respect to the topics. We get all that. I think that you've established the point with respect to the disease. You've now requested information relative to the natural heritage inventory, and Mr. Stack has asked for some clarification, which staff, I'm sure, can provide to you with respect to this. If you have questions, you're entitled to proceed. You're not entitled to debate with the delegates.
Yes, well, thank you very much. Then my last question will be, within your report and the comments that you made on your report, can you bring back the reports that back that up, your scientific evidence to back up the statements that you made?
Yeah, certainly. We are currently conducting the EIS, and as soon as it's completed, we will be submitting it.
Because I have a feeling that in order for you to do that, you'd probably be better off just to go ahead and do an EIS.
Well, I understand that's what's happening. So you are doing an EIS. All right, and I think you've indicated to Councilor Pacero that you won't be endeavoring to clear any of these trees until you've completed the report from your arborist, I guess, and you're planning on completing the EIS? Okay, so it sounds to me like you could probably make some headway here if you had some further consultation with the Environmental Advisory Committee as well. Regardless of what happens at council a couple of weeks from now, I think that would be prudent for you to do. Any other members of council?
Mayor Reddick, can I just ask a question of you?
Of me?
Yes, his reports will be brought to the Environmental Advisory Committee for comment?
That I don't know. Mr. Brady, is that what will
Yes,
happen?
I would
As you
prefer that
receive-
that happen.
As you receive reports from the developer, will they be provided to the Environmental Advisory Committee?
We typically provide to the Environmental Advisory Committee all natural heritage reports that are brought forward.
Which these would include?
Yeah.
So the answer would be yes. Okay. If I just have a couple of questions, just for clarification. The current zoning of this property is what?
It's waterfront residential,
The whole parcel all the way back to Thunder Bay Road?
I believe so.
Okay. And so there's going to have to be a zoning amendment at some point in the future before there's development.
If there,
And when do you anticipate that might take place?
honestly, at this point, I'd say years. There's no rush at this point to do anything with the property.
Okay.
Our concern at this point is I don't want a tree falling over, and particularly the ash. There's nothing more to it. We're following everything.
Yeah,
think-
I understand what you're saying, and I think that there's a grain of a benefit in what you're talking about. Just trying to figure out exactly what the context is here. And that drone video was taken sometime within the last couple of weeks?
Yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday.
Because the forsythia looks so beautiful. The ash typically doesn't come out in leaves until later in the spring in any event.
Yeah, it would have been ideal to have it done in a couple weeks from now, but we're at this point in
Correct.
time now.
Correct. If there are no other questions by members of council, thank you very much. And you've heard Councilor Pacero indicate that he's going to raise this under probably notices of motion. And so we expect that it'll be back. It'd be helpful to have whatever information you provided to us tonight so that we can have that available to us next week. And again, you might want to have some discussions with the Environmental Advisory Committee as well, just to help pave the way.
Okay, so just for clarification on our end, there won't be any discussions or decisions made tonight. It'll be next week,
Not tonight, it'll be 2 weeks from.
2 weeks from now?
Yes.
Okay.
And
Can I make one small point? My big concern is these are 80-foot high trees that are rotting. And so it's extremely difficult to take down a totally rotten tree. So, I mean, we've got animal life to worry about, but
We
there were several foresters killed in Toronto recently taking down these types of trees. The sooner they're taken down, according to the town arborist, the less danger.
We understand your position on this, and I think Mr. Hykoop adequately articulated it. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I'm guessing that by now Lisa McGrath, Dale Cooley, Sydney McGrath, Ivy Cooley, and Larry Bundy are all here. That's 4 of you. 3. Sydney is not going to be here this evening, and Larry Bundy is not here. We haven't seen Larry. Okay, so you know what? Why don't we, you're not expecting that he'll be here? You don't know? Do you want to hold this down, or do you want to proceed? Okay. Yeah, then let's proceed. I know that we've been waiting for a while so that we could get all of you here. So this evening, we're going to recognize 4 individuals, Lisa McGrath and Ivy Cooley, and Larry Bundy, for an incident that occurred on September the 15th, 2017. And I'll just give a little bit of background with respect to this before we make the presentations. On September 15th, 2017, at approximately 8:30 p.m. on Ridge Road North, the vehicle of 2 young occupants struck a hydro pole, flipping the car several times, then striking a tree and landing on its roof. Lisa McGrath, Dale Cooley, Sydney McGrath, and Ivy Cooley all heard the loud bang in their front yard as the power went out. They immediately responded to the crisis, which happened on their front yard. They found a car on its roof and on fire. Lisa called 911 and Dale ran to the car. He extracted 1 occupant from the burning vehicle by grabbing his arms. Sydney assisted the individual by getting him away from the vehicle and to a safe location. In the meantime, Lisa dragged her garden hose to the scene to attempt to put the fire out. I'm sure that's not recommended, Chief, but in an emergency, anything will help. The occupant was pulled from the vehicle in a confused state, repeated that his brother was in the vehicle. Dale went back to check, but did not see him at first. On further frantic inspection, as the fire was getting bigger, he found the second occupant under the hood of the vehicle. Dale attempted to lift the vehicle to no avail. A passing motorist, Larry Bundy, stopped to provide assistance, and eventually he and Dale were able to lift the vehicle while Sydney dragged the male away from the burning car and to safety. However, while Sydney was pulling the second occupant from the vehicle, his clothes caught on fire. She tried to put out the fire with her hands, as did Lisa, causing severe burns to her hand. Dale grabbed the garden hose and successfully put out the fire. Ivy was left to care for the first occupant. Larry, who is a nurse, assessed the second occupant, who was unconscious but breathing. The car was completely destroyed in the fire. The first occupant, 17 years old, was released from hospital in 24 hours. The second occupant, 19 years old, was hospitalized for over a month, had several surgeries to address burns to 40% of his body, and a broken hip and leg. The town of Fort Erie would like to thank each of you for your acts of bravery to help save the lives of strangers without regard to your own safety or well-being during this horrific motor vehicle accident which occurred on Ridge Road on September 15th, 2007. Without any doubt, kind acts can change lives and can save lives. So at this time, I'd ask Brian Izzard, Niagara Paramedic Association, to come forward with the 3 individuals who are here, and Councillor Nutt to assist me to provide certificates of our appreciation and recognition of your act of heroism.
I was the paramedic on scene.
So, we have
Get her phone. I want to miss this photo up. I got my camera here.
Like to hold it up and.
Yeah, can we do it? Yeah, of course. Of course I can.
Thanks for
Sorry, your first name again?
Randy.
Randy. Randy
Randy Harrison.
Harrison.
Probably know my daughter Skylar.
Skylar's on my committee?
Yes.
She was here earlier today?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Thank you very much. How's that garden?
Watering the garden now. Yeah, thanks. Yes.
You did go to the fire extinguisher first, and it was empty.
You hear that, Chief?
As a matter of fact, when Randy came back to visit, I was just putting up the new one.
Good for you.
I can vouch for her. Thanks, guys. Thanks. So you'll be forwarding that to Larry then? I take it?
Yes, we will make arrangements to do that. It was Randy Harrison from the Niagara Paramedics. Thank you, Councillor Nutt. So that gets us then to the consent agenda. And Councillor, is there anyone who wishes any of the items in the consent agenda removed? If not, Councillor McDermott, you have the resolution with respect to the consent agenda.
Thank you, Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Butler. The council approves the consent agenda items as recommended.
Are there any questions or comments? Councillor Zanko.
Thank you, Your Worship. And this question, actually, you might be able to answer. It's with regard to the minutes from the Transit Advisory Committee. I noticed that there is some review and there's some mention about additional stops. And I could inquire this under new business as well, but I felt that since there was mention during the notes, I could ask you. Is that something that the committee is looking at this point, or was it just kind of some vague discussions?
No, so what the committee is recommending is that the, instead of having the two directional bus routes, that the bus routes be returned to one direction, so that it's less confusing and creates more accurate and reliable timing in terms of movement. There's also going to be, at the next meeting, which is later this month, consideration of which direction, whether there should be some changes to the routes themselves. Primarily, not so much the north route, not so much the west route, more likely the east route, and potential changes will be considered as they may be appropriate going forward.
Okay, perhaps under new business, then I could make an inquiry on behalf of some Buffalo Road residents that are having an issue with one of the stops.
I think it's quite timely for you to raise some questions now because they relate to these minutes.
Okay, perfect. One of the stops on Buffalo Road is right in front of the daycare facility. And from my understanding, it provides service to the Native Center. Where it stops is the area where there's a lot of homes. There's more of a congested area of homes. And it's causing some issues for residents, being that the school buses stop there, and then the transit is now stopping there as well. So residents are not able to get out of their driveway with ease like they were in the past. One of the requests was that perhaps the bus stop was moved down further where there's less homes. There's an area which is more in front of the Native Center that doesn't have as many homes. So I'm just wondering if perhaps the committee could consider that.
That's something that can be taken into consideration, and it may be that depending on which direction the bus is going, that may be less of an issue, but certainly something that can be taken into consideration. Mr. Walsh, you've made a note of that?
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Councillor Luberts.
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor Redekop. I just noticed in here that the Environmental Advisory Committee minutes from April 25th are part of what we're approving. And at that meeting, the committee approved the minutes of March 25th, which I had declared a conflict in. So I just wanted on record that I had declared the conflict. I don't know if I need to declare it tonight because we're not doing any action on it. We're just receiving them. But I think I need it to be on the record that I did have a conflict.
Madam Clerk, we are approving a recommendation in here, but I don't know if that necessarily relates to Councillor Lubert's concern about the EAC's approval of its March minutes. I shouldn't think, but it's up to you. Really, it's up to you, Councillor Luberts.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor Redekop. I just wanted to make sure that it's on record that I did have a conflict. And if the conflict needs to be declared, then I'm declaring it.
Well, those are with the March, that was with business that took place in March.
Yeah, the March 25th minutes of the EAC meeting were excuse me, were approved at this meeting, the April 25th meeting.
All right, then if I were you, I would suggest that you declare a conflict.
Well, that's what I'm doing.
Perfect.
Thank you.
And Madam Clerk, you've got that? Okay.
Now,
So then
do
we'll
we
have
need
to
to
deal
deal
with
with that item separately?
We'll have to deal with that separately. Okay. So we will take the EAC minutes of April the 25th out of the package, and we'll deal with that separately. And Councillor McDermott, you've already put it on the floor, so we don't need to put it on the floor again. So we'll just take it out and vote on it separately after. We'll do that right now. Any questions or comments by other members of council with respect to those EAC minutes? If not, all those in favor of the recommendation? None opposed, that is carried. To the balance of the consent agenda, any questions or comments? All those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. That then takes us to new business, and the first item under new business, Councillor Butler, you have the resolution.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McDermott, that Council proclaims the week of May 28th through to June 3rd, 2018 as National Access Awareness Week within the town of Fort Erie.
Are there any questions or comments with respect to that? All those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. Councillor Passero, you have the next resolution.
Yes, Your Worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Zanko, that Council accepts the resignation of Stacy Steele from the Museum and Cultural Heritage Advisory Committee, and further, that Council directs staff to proceed with filling the vacancy in accordance with the procedural bylaw.
Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. Are there any inquiries by members of council? Councillor Zanko?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Mr. Walsh. I was wondering if when you were away this week, I had some residents that were complaining regarding some of the clearing that the CNP has been doing near the Friendship Trail. Mr. Hutton looked into the situation, and so did Mr. Marr. And there wasn't really too much of a safety concern. Some of the residents had safety concern. But what I'm wondering is perhaps you can call CNP and just as a courtesy, maybe see if they could do some tidying after they're doing all those clearing. There's a lot of residents that their homes are adjacent to the properties that have had clearing, and it's quite a nuisance for them now with all the mess that's left behind.
Mr. Walsh?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, can you specify exactly where we're talking about?
The calls that I've received is towards the end of Lakeside, the last 2 or 3 properties that are right near the trail. But there also is areas right off of Crescent as well, where there's quite a mess left.
Okay, I'll contact CNP.
Anything further? Any other councillors? Councillor Passero?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Mr. Walsh as well. A couple weeks back, the region was performing some work replacing a signal at Thompson, Helena, and Garrison. And my question is, I'm hoping the answer is yes, but is the region beholden to the same type of traffic calming or traffic management procedures when they're doing work on a right-of-way that we are? And I will tell you why. I was traveling eastbound and came up upon the work being done, and it just didn't seem right. It happened all of a sudden. The entire turning lane was blocked off. You've got cars now in the center lane, which has now become the turning lane. It was an absolute nightmare. And there ended up being later in the afternoon a motor vehicle incident at that location. It was the day of McHappy Day, so many people were talking about it. Don't go down Garrison Road when you go home. So I'm just wondering what standards are in place and how does the region check up on contractors performing work, because something just didn't seem right when I came up on that intersection. Nobody knew where to go. Nothing was blocked off properly. There were guys on the north side of the median just wandering around, even though it hadn't been closed off. It was a mess, an absolute mess.
It was. I actually was also there, and I got there just around the time they were starting to wind up their work, but there was no one directing any traffic in it, and you're right, it created a lot of confusion. Mr. Walsh?
The short answer is yes, they're beholden to the same Ministry of Labor standards that we are. It falls under Book 7, temporary conditions for traffic control, whether it was region forces or a contracted force or our own forces, we all follow the same standards.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh.
Councillor McDermott?
Yes, through you to Mr. Walsh. I just have one question. At the corner of Catherine and Concession, where we were doing that sewer work before, when is that portion of the road going to be done? Do you have any idea? There's still a big dip in there.
Mr. Walsh?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there's still the top layer of asphalt to put on a number of locations throughout the project, as well as completion of the works below the hill. Paving was all scheduled to be complete at the same time, and that's to be performed before June 30th, barring any weather or further complications.
Councillor McDermott?
Okay, thank you. And Your Worship, I know you're going to be attending an MPC meeting relatively soon. I just didn't want to get it lost in the other stuff that we were talking about, but the roads are getting pretty bad on the Parkway. I mean, I travel the Parkway this weekend, and there are some very bad spots. I was wondering if you might look into if the parks are going to tend to some of this stuff on the road.
Yeah, I can certainly inquire into that. And in fact, last fall I was wondering about the poor marathoners who were going to be running on the road. I was a little more concerned about them, but you're right. Now it's getting to the point where even vehicles could be affected. So I definitely will look into that for you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other councillors? Just to get back to Catherine Street, Mr. Walsh, that intersection, the east side of that intersection, at the end of Catherine Street, has been like that now since last fall. And that's not really, in my opinion, safe. And I know that there's some work that's going to be done on Kingsmill. I'm not sure if that's going to be tied in along with the balance of the paving work, but I'm wondering if that remember there were some corrections that were going to be done in Kingsville. I wonder if that couldn't perhaps be tied in so that it can be done earlier. I'm sure we've all received complaints about vehicles having to navigate that.
We have a site meeting Wednesday. I'll inquire with the contractor.
Perfect. And just in terms of the project itself, your indication is that by the end of June, that project should be, the paving should be completed?
That's according to the latest schedule provided by the contractor. I'm fairly confident in that schedule.
Great, thank you very much. Yes, Councillor Butler.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to ask Mr. Walsh when the start date for the construction on North Mill Street will take place.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the contract gets awarded at council and committee next week, followed by council the week after. And I would suggest that it would be within a month or a month and a half following that.
Thank you.
Okay, if there are no other queries, then there are no motions. There is a notice of motion, Councillor Zanko. That you'll, yes, okay.
Did you want me to read the notice of motion, or did you want me to
Yep,
speak to it?
No, you should read it.
Proposed changes to the SPCA bylaw, protection of animals, that council modify the current bylaw number 119-97, to include a section for the protection of animals in confined spaces in extreme weather conditions. And just to speak to that,
It's not on the floor.
Oh.
It's a notice of motion.
Okay.
Councillor Passero?
With your indulgence, Your Worship, given the subject matter, I'd like to inquire through you or our clerk, how would we go about waiving rules of procedure to entertain Councillor Zanko's motion tonight?
If we had a mover and a seconder to waive rules so that this particular motion could be dealt with this evening, I would entertain that, primarily because it's been talked about on a couple of occasions during our council meetings, and it has been put on our agenda, and it seems to me that this is a matter that could be dealt with. It's not a matter that is of such great magnitude, except to the animals that would be affected, that couldn't be dealt with this evening. So
I'd like to put that forward if I could find a seconder. Councillor
seconded
Butler,
by
thank you.
Councillor, so moved by Councillor Passero, seconded by Councillor Butler. And at this point, I presume, Councillor Zanko, you'd like to speak to it?
yes, thank you.
This is to waiving the rules. Beg your pardon? Waiving the, yeah. Yeah, is there no discussion about waiving the rules? Can you not speak to that? All right, did you want to speak to waiving the rules, not the
I
not
was
the
just going
motion?
to speak to why I'm asking for the rules to be waived.
Anybody wish to speak to the motion that's on the floor that we waive the rules? Okay, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? That is unanimous. Councillor Zanko, so we now will entertain your motion, but you need a seconder for your motion. Councillor Butler will second that. So we now have a motion on the floor that is reflective of the notice of motion, Madam Clerk. So if you wish to speak, now you may speak.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm happy that we were able to waive the rules of procedure considering the weather conditions. But I also wanted to speak to the fact that it was through the initiative of many Garrison Road students that this was brought to my attention as well. So I just wanted to acknowledge the fact that many young students at Garrison Road had decided to take some time to make a difference to help animals and essentially make some change in their community. But I'm hopeful for council's support that we can give the local SPCA the authority to rescue vehicles that are trapped in cars. Currently, they have to wait for law enforcement, and sometimes if there's accidents, this is not the most, it doesn't take precedence.
Anyone else wish to speak to this? Councillor Luberts?
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor Radicop. So I think when I'm reading the motion, it's not really explaining what the extreme conditions are, but the confined spaces we're mentioning, like if they're inside a car on a sunny day or something like that, that they can break windows without the police being present or something. Yes,
Heat and cold.
yes, okay, yes. And I support that motion.
So in order to effect the change of the bylaw, we're going to have to get advice from staff as to what those changes would be, I presume, Madam Clerk. And then this would come forward as an amendment to the bylaw. Okay.
And Mayor Redekop, if I may.
Yes,
This will
Councilor
also
Roberts.
be presented to the SPCA as well.
The motion,
Yes,
For
we'll
their-
notify them that our intentions are to change the bylaw.
I think it would be prudent for us to do that because it would also
Yes.
likely be that they can provide us with some assistance and guidance in drafting the changes that will
yeah,
take place to
okay.
the bylaw.
The SPCA actually asked for the changes.
Okay, so they presumably have some
They have been
wording that they do.
notified.
All right,
I was just going to say I have been working with the SBCA as well.
okay, perfect. Any other questions or comments? If there are none, all those in favor? That is unanimous. So that takes us to the second notice of motion, which I have with respect to bird-friendly mitigation measures. It's outlined here. Don't need to read that. I'm trusting, Mr. Brady, that this was provided, or at least advice was provided to you as to the appropriate wording?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So that will come before council on May the 22nd? Okay, beg pardon? Sorry, May 28th. Next week is May 22nd. Are there any other notices of motion this evening? Councilor Passero?
Thank you, Your Worship. Based on information presented tonight and additional information provided through interoffice memo, but also the memo we received from the chair of the EAC, I'd like to put forward notice of reconsideration. But through you and through our clerk, I'm hoping for some guidance because I don't want to reconsider the entire motion as accepted the EAC because it does talk about the environmental conservation overlay. I'm looking to be specific just to the removal of ash trees on the property. Is there a way to go about doing that?
Yeah, there is, and I think what you would do is you would move to have that portion of the resolution, which we've been provided information on, to, relative to the extent of the removal that EAC would consider. So they've indicated they'd consider selective removal from the perimeter. I think that you're looking at some type of removal of ash trees on a broader area.
Yeah, I'd be looking just to reconsider their sentence that the ash tree should not be permitted to be cleared from the property. That was the substantive part of the motion. The rest is just kind of a comment on their behalf. But that's what I'd be looking to reconsider is the removal of ash trees from the property.
Okay, that's fine. You've given us the gist of your motion, and you can refine that between now and the 28th.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other notices of motion? Councillor Luberts?
Yes, Mayor Redekop. I see you have a notice of motion here, and I'm just wondering if we could read that out loud
Sure.
for the people that are listening. I think that was one of the recommendations we made a while back, that we would read them out loud.
Yes, that's fair enough. Sure.
Could you
So-
do that, please?
Yes, of course. The notice of motion that I'm bringing forward for May the 28th is that the planning staff investigate in consultation with the Environmental Advisory Committee and report to council on possible bird-friendly mitigation measures for consideration in the planning and development process. May the 28th, so two Mondays from now.
Are you going to notify EAC about this notice of motion?
I can.
Okay, thank you.
Let me make a note of that. If there are no other notices of motion, that then takes us to consideration of bylaws. And are there any bylaws that anyone wishes removed from the package? If not, Councillor Nutt, you have first and second reading.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Zanko, that the bylaw package containing 65-2016, which should be 65-2018. To deem a certain registered plan of subdivision not be a registered plan of subdivision, Lynn Susan Brophy, 98 Sunrise Court, Lot 17. That's 66-2018, to deem a certain registered plan of subdivision not be registered plan of subdivision Dennis Norman for 263 Cherrywood Avenue. 67-2018, to declare lands as public highway 1 foot reserve being Part 8 on Reference Plan 59R-16147 Kirby Street. 68-2018 to authorize the sale of Lot 22, Plan 497, Birdie, 469 Gloria Road to Linda Reed. 69-2018 to set the 2018 tax rates and levy tax rates for the year of 2018. And 70-2018 to appoint Jensen Cornelius as a municipal law enforcement officer for the corporation of the town of Fort Erie and is given first and second reading.
All those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. That bylaw package is on the floor for questions or comments. There being none at this time, Councillor Zanko, could you proceed with third and final reading, please?
Yes, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Nutt, that bylaws 65-2018, 66-2018, 67-2018, 68-2018, 69-2018, and 70-2018 are given third and final reading to be signed by the mayor and the clerk under the corporate seal.
Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. Councillor McDermott, you have the next resolution with respect to the confirmatory bylaw.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Butler, that bylaw number 71-2018 to confirm the actions of council at its meeting held on May 14, 2018 is given first and second reading.
All those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. Councillor Butler, third and final reading.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McDermott, that bylaw number 71-2018 is given third and final reading to be signed by the mayor and clerk under the corporate seal.
Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. That takes us to scheduling of meetings. Councillor Luberts.
Mayor Reddecup, I don't have a scheduled meeting, but I want to apologize that I just noticed on my notes that I did have an inquiry about our official plan. I'm just wondering if I could direct that to Mr. Brady.
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Brady, when I was doing some of my homework over the last couple of days, under section 8.3, environmental conservation areas in our official plan, 8.3, and then there's 8.3.3. It's the third paragraph. At the end, it says proposed developments in accordance with policies in section 8.0-11. And when I went in the official plan, I can't find 8.1-11. It goes from 8.1 or 8.0 to 8.1, and there I don't find any 8.0-11. I'm just wondering if you could look into that and maybe let me know exactly what this is, what they're talking about here.
So that could be an error. If not, we'll get that clarified. Mr. Brady, you've got the gist of that?
What I understand is that there's a citation in 8.3.3 to a section of 8.0.11. Is that what?
8.0-11.
-11.
That's what I'll show you after the meeting.
-11. I will look into that.
I can show it to you after the meeting as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Scheduling of meetings, back on track. Councillor Pacero.
Thank you, Your Worship. Our Fort Erie Active Transportation Committee is meeting on Tuesday here at Town Hall, Committee Room 1 at 5:30 p.m.
That'd be May 15th. Any other meetings? Councillor Luberts and then Councillor McDermott.
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor Reddecup. I wasn't here at the meeting when it was approved, but I got an email from our planning department that there's a meeting this Thursday, and I can't remember what time it was, I think 2 o'clock in the afternoon, for the new secondary plan focus group in Crystal Beach. Is that correct, Mr. Brady?
Crystal Beach.
Secondary plan, I think.
May,
CIP.
May the 17th, Thursday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., Crystal Beach.
Yes.
Community Focus Group Strategic Planning Session.
Yeah,
That's correct.
okay,
And
thank you.
that's correct. And that is, I'm presuming here.
Conference Room 1, I believe.
That could very well be correct.
That's correct.
Yes. Councillor McDermott.
Tomorrow night at 5:30, I have a Fort Erie Library Board meeting.
At the library. Isn't that cool? Are there any other meetings? If none, then Councillor Nutt, I will go to you for the traditional motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Pacero. The council adjourns at 7:42 p.m. to reconvene in a regular meeting of council on May 28, 2018.
All those in favor? Excellent, unanimous. Thank you very much.